Peter, I'm freaking out.
Don't ruin it for me.
We are back and welcome to Green Dot Defense and Awareness Training. This is Terry and we are bringing you our review of the CANiK MC9 Prime. We have had this for a couple of weeks now and we have run the paces, made some observations, and now it is time to present our findings to you. So where I do state that I am new to CANiK as a company, I do identify with their reputation for value, accuracy, and the trigger. They are very, very, very proud of their triggers. My brother Aki has a TP9 SFX, which I had an opportunity to shoot, and I was impressed with the balance, the accuracy, and the way that it cycled. It was smooth and well executed. I do believe CANiK is slept on as a firearms company, and they do push a quality product at competitive prices while also offering some higher end options. So with all that being said, let's get to it. So with the MSRP of 6.5 mini francs, you can expect the contents of this here case with the, we got here 2 lock holes here, so you can put 2 locks on this. And these latches here also have this nice little push button lift latch on both sides here. Push and pull, it says. And we lift up and we got 2 back straps. We've got this cute little CANiK tool where you pull the bottom out and you have your little bits and extra screws and such that you need to change your optic and your optics plates. And well, it doesn't really have any optics plates, but we'll get to that. You've got your paperwork / literature here, and 2 magazines. We've got the lock, we've got the CANiK, and the G code. Should be pretty much common knowledge at this point, but I mean this holster is just like, it's the retention, like it does have retention, but it's just like the rattling is atrocious. It will stay in, but get yourself another holster immediately. Pull this off to the side. And we see that we also have a space for another magazine. The paddle for the G code, where you can wear it outside of your belt line. Your cleaning brush, your pen extractor for your back straps, and this cleaning tool. You can run your patches through your barrel and clean your barrel, right? So getting back to that, let's get back to this. Almost forgot they added this nice little CANiK magazine loader. So simple and a part of the deal. So I went to show clear and realized I had to wipe her down a little bit. So, you know, here's the slide and that 2-stage recoil spring. And it's a little bit different than, where are we here? There's a notch. Where's the notch? There's a notch. There we go. So you get it there and everything is back. And this is the release here. So you want to cleaner, pull that down, slide it forward, but it doesn't go all the way off. It just kind of comes up from that point. And you can drop it back down and get it back together like so. So let's start with the grip texturing here. It went pretty high on the grip with the thumb and first finger with the texturing up here. So as you're gripping here, your thumb is it's right on it. First finger, trigger finger, pretty much right on it. They've got touch points here and here with basically the same amount of texturing as exists on the side panels. The front and the back strap are slightly more aggressive, got a little bit more bite to it. So I guess on the sandpaper scale, if we're looking at the side panels and the touch points, probably 120 grit on the sandpaper scale, and maybe maybe 100 grit on the front and the back, just a little more bite, not too much, nothing crazy. The slide release bar is here, so there's your slide release bar, and it is ambidextrous. It is easy to engage. I'm actually there on the back side with it, so that one here, that one with the thumb, it needs to be broken in, but it's still relatively easy to engage. Your mag release button is not ambi, but it is reversible, so you can switch it around if you're a left-handed shooter to engage it from this side, which I think is a good idea. They should do that with more firearms. I think they do it with a decent number of firearms, but it's good to see that here. We have the loaded chamber indicator, right? So this bar here, is that way you can see that when there is a round in the chamber, this will rise up. I don't know how well you can see it. It's really not all that easy to do with your finger, but there. So you'll have that visual cue if you don't have an optic in the way to let you know that there is one in the chamber. We got the fiber optic iron sights on the front and rear. Not sure how easy you would be able to see that front sight there, but we do have the fiber optic rear with the fiber optic in the front, surrounded by that high vis orange. Makes it very easy to pick up and very, very easy to get on target. Okay, so let's get to this trigger. This thing is, I'm just showing clear here. This thing is very, very, there's a lot of take up here, but that's the wall. You get to that wall and that's it. That's the whole thing. Reset. That's the whole thing right there. You can shoot this thing as fast as you want to because you don't have to go anywhere. That's it, buddy. That is absolutely it. We got the hot trigger indicator here. So when this dot disappears, you've got a dead trigger. Fantastic job on this part, guys. I just have to say. They've got the MRST footprint, and they have these raised screw mounts, which really makes it a lot easier to get this thing mounted without having to consider a bunch of different screw sizes. So these are the same screws that were used on the optic plate that came with it, and you know, it's pretty seamless. I'll try to add a picture of the of how they raised it on the slide so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. And you've got a pretty sure you can see that co-witness, that lower quarter co-witness, so you can see the sights through the window, which is, you know, a huge plus in terms of just having something functional in the event that your optic goes down. Having something that you can direct mount is a huge plus. Not really having to deal with plates or anything of that nature, which, you know, might push you up just above what you would need to be able to see your irons in the event that the optic goes down. So kudos to CANiK on that one. All right, it looks like we kept it safe with the 1913 pick rail for your lights and accessories. Thank you for that. The slide serrations are very aggressive, like all over. It's not only easy to maneuver, but you know, it looks pretty diesel. I can't even hold you on that. Like aesthetically, I'm loving it. I felt like CANiK was kind of going for a futuristic aesthetic, and I think this kind of falls in line with that in a very signature way. So one of the main reasons I got this was because it was comped and ported, and I haven't shot a comped or ported pistol before, and this really kind of, you know, falls in line with being able to do that with something that does not have a threaded barrel. Thank you, state restrictions. And I'm looking at how loud it is, or how much louder it feels when you're shooting it, I guess, because, you know, the noise is pretty much like if your ear's back here, I know that would be close, but if your ear's back here, then the sound is almost like has a direct line to your hearing instead of it being pushed forward, which makes me wonder if CANiK would have any aftermarket plans for a barrel that is not ported, because the way they did this, I don't know if you can see, that little ring on the inside, right? That little ring on the inside is basically where the rifling stops engaging with the round. So even though this is a 3.64 inch barrel, you're losing about a ½ inch worth of rifling on the inside. So when we get to this point, we're no longer engaged with the rifling, which I think was a mistake. It's essentially a 3 to 3.1 inch barrel, and for that, I feel like this is a big gun for a 3-inch barrel, effectively. So I would like to see an aftermarket solution to that, whether it was either another comped barrel or something that was just, you know, straight through. I think it would be great either way. I know that the design was intended for it to be ported, and, you know, it may function a little differently without ports. It might be a little more snappy. I don't know, but I would be willing to, you know, kind of test that out and bring it to you as a, you know, update video if you know it merited that much. I should mention that this is a 1 in 10 twist rate. This barrel is a 1 in 10 twist rate, and I don't know if they, maybe if they offered a match grade barrel with a 1 in 7 twist, or, you know, even something with a threaded barrel, I think that would that'd be pretty interesting to explore as well. Another one of the pretty big selling points for me was the flared mag well here. So it's very contoured, really kind of widens out the outer edge, so it makes it really easy to get the magazines in there without any real issues or hiccups. I really do like how they were able to incorporate that. The back straps also add variety of function and aesthetic to it as well. Like if you don't want that mag well flared out, you're trying to conceal it a little bit more, you can take that off, and, you know, they do have a back strap that extends down to the back of the magazine, so you can have a more even flush fit on that if you prefer that. I do have to go back to the 17 round mags. It comes with 2 17 round magazines. For areas that are round count restrictive, I was realizing that I was having an issue trying to find 10 round magazines for this specific model. I did come into a couple of 10 round magazines that have a different base plate, right? So aside from this standard base plate design, they did have a 10 round magazine that has a different base plate design, right? And this magazine does not engage with the CANiK Prime, right? This is a CANiK magazine. I can show you that there. This is a CANiK magazine, and it is essentially the same size, but it does not fit this particular model. And I do believe it's because of the difference in how this is rounded out here and how straight this is here. So I don't know if that was an oversight. I don't know if that was intentional. Either way, I feel like it's something that probably should be addressed. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people that live in a capacity restricted area that would want to utilize this as a EDC option, but may not be able to get past this part here, right? Because I feel like these should be at least available on their own for, you know, whatever that price point would be. If you guys aren't going to make 10 round magazines for this particular model, you can at least do that, and then people can buy this magazine and have that part available as well, so they can at least switch the bottom plates. I just noticed with, you know, companies like Springfield and SIG, when they made their micro compact, and this is, you know, advertised as a micro compact from CANiK. When these other companies made their micro compact, they made them really small, and then they gradually increased the size and the capacity and the barrel length. And I feel like CANiK kind of is going in the opposite direction. I feel like they were kind of looking at the finish line first, and I'm not upset about it at all. Like, I really think that adding everything that they added into this was bold, it was intentional, and you know, for this being CANiK's first US produced pistol, it's appropriate. I like it, I really do. But at the same time, if I didn't find some critiques, like, what would I be doing here, right? So that's enough of me yapping. Let's get to the range and see how this handles. So we'll just go ahead and narrate through this part because the mic is not working well in this particular space. Starting off with 3-box with the Blazer Brass 115. I think this one set a pretty good baseline for what we can expect with accuracy. Moving on to the Federal American Eagle 115. In this space here, we had a failure to feed, which was a first. Our second round, once we cleared that out, our second round came in really low to the right. But here we got a hole in hole on the third. Then we got our fourth. And our fifth was a hole in hole on the fourth. So the accuracy is good, but the failure to feed is concerning. And then we had the flyer going to the 5-box. We are back at the, what do we have? Blazer 124 on the 5-box, 124 grain. Yeah, it seemed to do fine with the Blazer. So moving over to the Federal American Eagle 124, that one high right in the box was already there. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds here.
Doesn't seem like the Federal is not the same.
I feel like we have another failure to feed there. Yep, that was it.
Blazer 147s.
So we got 2 failure to feeds with Federal from 2 different grain weights. Not sure what it is that this pistol does not like about Federal, but here we're at the Blazer 147 and it's getting a little more erratic, so it seems like it doesn't like the heavier grain weight so much. But that was the Blazer 147, and now we're going to make our way back over to Federal 147 in the 6-box. So we got also a good start with 2 in the box, but another hiccup, another failure to feed. There was a decent group, 1 fell out the box, but we need to start with a round 2 here, so we're going to go back to the 115 Blazer. We're well left on that one back in the box. Got another one that fell low into the bottom box, and the other ones ended up in the box. We got 2 sporadics, but this is why we do multiple rounds, so we can get a better idea as to what's happening here. We're back at the 115 Federal.
Consistent hiccups to feed with the Federal still. That one did go in the battery, but it did kind of catch a little bit. With the Blazer 124 to 5-box.
So consistent failure to feed issues with the American Eagle. Going back over to the Blazer 124, and seems to have a good consistency with that particular grain weight. Well, with the Blazer 115 and 124. So we're going back over to American Eagle with the 124.
Pick up on the 4th round of feed with the Federal. So the Blazer 147.
All right, we're here at Small Arms. Got a little bit of a low light situation, but here with the CANiK MC9 Prime with the SIG Cat Pro. So that's where we have from 7 yards. So decent group. Not upset about it. Wish it was a little tighter. Definitely need to bring it over to the right. I think the height adjustments may come more into play after You take it further out. I'll change my aim point to the 7 on the right side of the same circle. And that'll give us a better idea as to whether we need to make any height adjustments or any additional. I don't know, this is twice as far, so I'm feeling like it'll be twice as left, which is why I want to aim at the 7 on the right side of the circle. That was all the way outside the frame. All right, here we go. All right, so let's bring it back and see what we got. That's not bad. I got one that really kind of jumped off left on me, but not upset about that. Where we at? Where are we? Right there. So I got that one that jumped outside the circle, and everything else is the same from 7. That was my aim at 7. That was my aim at 15. So at 15, everything else stayed in the same area. Basically, I missed one on the right side of the center line. So that gives me a reasonable baseline as to what adjustments I need to make on the Optic. I actually feel pretty good about the grouping at 15. It could be better, but not upset about it. Not at all. The Prime has a very predictable trigger. It's crisp and clean. We're going to aim at the 9, just right at the X, and see if we can knock this circle out. Aiming at the 9 on the right of the X. All right, I feel bottom right. We're gonna aim at the 8, right of the X. Okay. All right, I feel like we got a pretty good grip on what we're producing with the Optic there. So that's cool.
All right, well, this is the basic breakdown on performance that we just witnessed in those range sessions here. The Blazer on the left seemed to be the ones that it responded best from. So the 115 grain and the 124 seemed to do pretty well on. That last range segment that was supposed to be me kind of centering my Optic when I forgot my tool, that was the BPS, the 124 grain. And it was a reasonable result, but the Federal, for some reason, kept having, failures to feed. And that's not something we look forward to. So that falls off the list of ammunition we want to use when we want to have a good day. Thank you for coming to watch the review of the CANiK MC9 Prime. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the points I made during this video. I'm a big boy, I can take it, I promise. Here at Green Dot Defense and Awareness Training, we believe in being trained and prepared. So don't forget to train. Life is precious. Protect it. Thanks for coming. See you next time.